So a lot of you have been asking, Kelzad, where are the tutorials at? Where did they go? And you know what? Here they are. I've come back again now after 3 years when I made the first original Madness tutorial videos. And in my opinion, they weren't as good as I hoped they'd be, so I deleted them and they'd never see the surface of this web ever again. They're nowhere to be found anymore, so instead of re-uploading or trying to find them again, I'm making new ones instead. This has been a request from a lot of people that they wish to know how to animate Madness. Although I'm not going to tell you today how to do that, I'm going to say that right now. I'm going to teach you how to set your files up, not how to actually animate the characters. I'll tell you how to put up the different things, and that's it. I'll tell you all the small things that are probably necessary for you to know about this program, Flash. I use Flash CS6. We might as well get into it. So first of all, as you can see, I have an untitled document here in Flash. It's just default is called Untitled 1, and as you can see here, I have another one open called All Madness Sprites. Now this is a very like your starter set, so to speak, in animation stuff with Madness. This is something you can easily find by googling Madness Combat Sprite. This is commonly used by a lot of people, although I wouldn't myself approve of this because it's very gimmicky, kind of. As you can see here, for example, on these sprites, you can see the wound is here and then it's not here, and that's odd. It's from Madness 5.5. So today, I'll still be using these though, just for a starter for you guys. So let's get started immediately. Let me go back into Untitled 1 here. So how I set this up was that I opened File, I clicked New. As you can see here, there's a lot of options. Most of you probably, when you open this program for the first time, you're probably going to think, what do I press? What do I do? Where do I go? And always pick ActionScript 2.0. That's what I'll be using, definitely. ActionScript 3 is the latest ActionScript, which is a coding language. Most of you won't even really use it. If you want a VCam or a video camera or virtual camera, I think it's called. I'm not actually sure after all this time. It has different coding and it's much more complicated. So we'll stick with ActionScript 2.0. Trust me, everyone uses this. So you want to have it width 640 pixels and height is 360 pixels. This is to keep the format of HD because this is 1920 times 1080p if you scale it up. And since this is a vector-based program, you'll always be able to scale it up and it won't diminish in quality. We want to use pixels, of course, and frame rate will be 30. That's the classic frame rate. You can do whatever you want. I always use 30. Background color is the one you can see here in the stage. I use it with a gray color because it doesn't clash with black or white. So if you have like if the stage was black, you couldn't really see the black lines that you draw or the background because the sky is red and black in Madness. It'll be very confusing, and white also clashes sometimes, and it confuses you with other colors that you may use in the program. So gray is the perfect balance. I always take the hex code 9999, and yeah, and then after that you can just press OK and you get it. I'll just close it for now and I'll just use Untitled 1. So now you have a stage and now you're thinking, what do I do? Where do I go? So you go in here for an example. This is just one sprite sheet. You can use anything you want. You probably even know someone online who has something that you can use, a sprite sheet of your own or theirs. Let's just take a very basic one here. So I'll take the head and I'll copy paste it. And you can just easily copy paste things into the other stage. It's very copy pasty, this program. There's no smart techniques other than that. So let's now I'm gonna be selecting multiple symbols at the same time. This works in other programs too, in terms of other techniques too. You can select something and then you can also hold Shift and press left click so you select multiple symbols at the same time. So I'll select all those, I'll press Control C, so copy paste, Control V, and put it in. Now, you're gonna be wondering, how does this work? And as you can see here, some of the sprites don't exactly go where they're supposed to, like the backhand is in front and everything. You'll learn this as you go over time. We want to separate this in layers, however. So let's hold on, let's copy paste that foot because they have 2 feet. Oh, whoops. They have 2 feet, of course. So this is all in one layer. We don't want that because when you want to animate a character, you want to be able to move each separate body part for themselves. It's really hard to animate everything in one layer. That's gonna be like really clunky. No one does that. So you want to put this in different layers. So there's 2 ways of doing this. You can distribute to layers, so everything is separated into layers, and the layer will be named after the symbol themselves. You can always change these, and you need to separate them too. So the backhand always goes at the very bottom here, so it's behind everything else. The head goes up here. The hand is in front of everything. So now we have these. The way I do it is that I name these layers, say hand 2. Part 2. I usually put the 2 feet in the same layer because of practical solutions, in my opinion. Part 1. Feet, I call these, and hand 1. So the backhand is the one that's furthest away from the character, or behind it anyway, is called hand 1. I call these feet, I call the body part 1, I call the head part 2, and I call the front hand 2. This is a very basic character setup. You can rotate this as you like, you can put these any way you want. So here we have a very basic grunt, as they're called. And that's how I name them, and that's how I organize these. So now I have this character. And the main 4 buttons you want to be using for madness animations and Flash in general is F5, F6, F7, and F8. Now these different buttons at the top of your keyboard, F5 is used to extend frames, which means that you extend each picture of the 30 frames of the 30 FPS movie. And 30 frames is a whole second. This is 1 second of animation, although there is no animation yet. It's just a still guy. The way you want to animate is that you want to delete these, and I did that by clicking remove frames. You use F6, next button, which is to make a new keyframe, which adds a movement to the character. So right now, I'll just very carefully do this. You want to move them a little by little, and of course you'll understand that concept very fast when you start out animating. It's very simple. Let's just make it to 25. So the other keyframes follow along the first time you use F6, because that's how the document is set up. So I use mouse to move the symbols. You move them around as you make the new keyframe. So I press F6, hold left click to move, and I drag the symbol. I press F6 again, drag F6, drag F6, drag F6, drag F6, drag F6, drag. You keep doing this until you get something, until you get a result. Again, this is super basic. There's nothing in this than anything else. So I'll press enter, so I play it. As you can see, there's a movement. It's not very good, but it's what I can make so far. And that's how it works. Each different frame, these dots just represent the frames. And sometimes you can have frames that just go like this. They just suddenly move. As you can see here, it just switches into place. That's because the first frame is 9 frames long, and on the 10th frame it moves. So you can extend the frames by pressing F5, or you can remove these again. You can also click here and then press F5, and it extends up to that point. There's also another way of doing this. It's called tweening, where you do classic, where you create a classic tween, and it moves the hand automatically. This is not something I would approve of either, although some few animators use this. I use this very rarely to smoothen out something very small. The automatic effect of it makes it move smoothly without any jumping or anything like that. I would do this if you were moving a camera, because if you manually moved it, it would be very, very hard to do, and it's more effort than it's worth. Again, I'm not going to tell you how to animate. I'm going to leave these feet, like, I'll leave them be for now. But if you don't move your characters and you just press F5 to extend everything, of course you can see there's some missing things here. So that's how to use F6 and F5. F7 is an empty keyframe. It adds an empty keyframe so that the keyframe gets removed and you can add something else instead. It's on the same layer. You can do whatever you want. You can add a fucking whatever, and that's how that works. So it's an empty keyframe. There's nothing in it. It also works if you just remove it. And this is an empty keyframe. You can have an empty keyframe wherever you want. And another little thing before we continue is that I would usually use something called rulers, which is the little rulers here at the top, which tell you the pixels, although this isn't the main purpose for it. Main purpose is that you can, if you drag out from the rulers, you get like a little line here, a guideline. You can have as many of these as possible, or as many as you want, sorry. They serve as a kind of thing here, like they help you snip the characters' things close to them. You can use this if you need to, if say you don't want the character, you have the character standing right here. Hold on, you have to stare. It's standing right here, and you don't want him to accidentally go more downwards as you go in the animation. That's one thing you can use the rulers for. I use this sometimes, very rarely, but only when I need to be sure that I don't move something out of place. Next part of it is animated symbols. So I found something here called the Nexus Splurt 5. This is from Project Nexus 1.5, or just the Project Nexus game in general. I don't actually know. It's in the game, and it's also in Crinkles' own animations. This is a blood effect that is animated. It's a symbol for itself. As you can see here, it's just one symbol here. It doesn't have any keyframes, despite it being able to animate. It's because the symbol in itself, if you double click it, you get into something called isolation mode, which allows you to animate, to only interact with this object right here. As you can see, I've selected it here. I can't select this guy over here, he's not there. So when you double click it, you get in here. And this, up here you can see the keyframes. These are all the keyframes used that Crinkles animated to make this one effect for itself. It's 17 frames long, as you can see here, and it's what you normally use to make effects. So this is used for many things. So when the guy, anything, yeah, and it loops on its own, you can always set it to not loop by pressing play once, and it'll not loop. And that's pretty much it, really. The last thing I wanted to talk about was when you export it, you press Control Enter. It's also up here. I believe you can also press Test Movie or Test Scene. Yeah, here it is, Test Movie, Control Enter. So that's how you test it or export it in general. Last thing I wanted to talk about was the video conversion, which I'll show you in just a second. So I have this program called Swivel. This is a program that helps you convert SWIFT files, which is a shockwave flash file, into a MP4 video. This is used for pretty much everything you see flash-based on YouTube. They all convert this into videos through this. Now I'm going to be using this to convert this little thing that I made. It's only 20 frames long, so it asks me if I want to start it on frame 1 and end it on frame 25. And yes, I want that. And there's some video options here, and you pretty much just want to leave it be. Audio, you want to put that up to whatever audio bitrate you've set it to. You can do that. You can do that in the animation here by going into File, Publish Settings, and then you can set the two audios here. I would usually set these to 160 kbps. Take that off. Do the same here. Best. Take this off. When you're done doing that, publish. Okay, and that's that. And then here in a Swivel, you want to do the same. You want to leave this audio codec be. There's only a couple options. I know it says MP3 here, but don't get fooled by it. AAC is fine. Audio bitrate is 160 kbps. And you want to click convert. And then it's done. You can click it to open here. And that's it. It's just that little tiny animation. That's the very basic start of it, and I think this will be helpful. Anyways, that was that. I'm not sure if I'll ever make any more of these. If I will, you'll just have to wait and see. So in that case, bye bye everybody.